Hi, I'm Evan Goldstein, your host for Wine Couch TV. All of you, all of us, me included, love to go out and dine in restaurants all the time, and Table Hoppin' with Marcia has become quickly one of our most popular segments on the show. Table Hoppin' with Marcia, of course, alludes to Marcia Gagliardi, the popular proprietress of tablehopper.com, a very successful website based here in the San Francisco Bay Area that talks about dining in restaurants, the bar scene, the club scene, etc. And she's got a new book coming out in March of next year, which I'm going to let her tell you about it because I'll probably butcher the name and get it all wrong and certainly get the subtitle wrong. But she's with us again. We're going to focus in on a restaurant this week, as we always do. And rather than doing the Bay Area, we're going to hop on a plane and zip down to LA. So without further ado, let's bring on Marcia. Marcia, thank you so much, as always, for coming on the show. Your segment is, without question, one of the most popular ones we do. Now, before we jump on our proverbial plane, head down to LA and talk about a fabulous pizzeria, I know you've got a book coming out. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Absolutely. Thanks, Ev. So it's going to be the Table Hopper's Guide to Dining and Drinking in San Francisco. Find the right spot for every occasion.
Excellent.
Yep. So it's all about the different occasions that we dine out for.
Super. March of next year?
Yes, March 2010.
Looking forward to that. Looking forward to that.
10-speed press. Thank you.
Very good. So we're leaving the Bay Area today, and we're heading down to Los Angeles, and a restaurant that you and I both really enjoy on the more casual side, if you will, is Pizzeria Mozza. What can you tell us about this establishment?
Well, it's definitely, it's a destination-worthy restaurant if there ever was one. And for me, the pizza lover, absolutely. So it's with Nancy Silverton, Mario Batali, and Joe Bastianich. So we have a little bit of a East Coast influence on it. And they work together to create, there are two restaurants. So there's Mozza, the nicer restaurant, and then Pizzeria Mozza, which is a bit more casual.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And how would you describe, I mean, obviously pizza's happening hot thing in San Francisco,
easy.
We got Delfino, we got all these things. Where does their pizza sort of fit in stylistically?
It's funny because it's definitely thin crust and crispy, but it has the lip of it. The cornicione is a bit more puffy, and so definitely, I'd say it's unique, is compared to San Francisco pizzas. Maybe Gelina comes close with just that thicker lip. So.
Only in LA would they do things slightly differently.
Yeah.
So from the standpoint of the menu, what are some of the things that really stood out for you?
Well, they have a great list of antipasti and just really fresh ingredients. And so you could choose that. You could have some sliced meats. And then, of course, the pizzas are great. They had one with fennel pollen on it. It was incredible. It smelled like curry when it came over to the table. So
very cool.
Yeah,
very
so great place for lunch. That's what it's kind of crazy to try to get in there in the evening. So I went in for lunch with a friend. Great time.
Perfect. Way to go. Their wine program is very, I mean, you wouldn't expect an extraordinarily ambitious wine program at a pizzeria. And if you want something a little ambitious, I'd probably go next door to Mozza, where they do have over 300 selections. I mean, it's a fairly ambitious one. At the pizzeria, probably smaller, just south of 100, and all Italian, which don't let that scare the hell out of you. They're well-selected wines. The people there tend to know their wine very well. And although the service style is a bit more casual than the Somm style, nevertheless, the folks are knowledgeable. The wines are well chosen. They're good price value, and they're available by the bottle. And then they also have wines available by the bicchiere, if you will, so by the glass, if you will, for sparkling, and then by the cartino, which is sort of a step up, not a little bit bigger than the glass kind of thing that you pour yourself, or other things. And a wine that we talked about, because you're going to tell me that dish that you love, that I thought would be fun to try on air was a Suave. But let me tell you about you tell me about the dish that you liked, and then we'll talk about the
It was
wine.
this incredible dish with really fresh, juicy, sweet shrimp and melon and Fresno chilies and a little bit of onion. It was perfect, so refreshing, really bright flavors.
And the wine, have I got a wine to go with that?
Tell me about it.
It's a Suave. It's from the house of Suavia. It's the 2007 vintage, which comes from the Veneto area. And Suave, for a lot of people, is it's kind of innocuous. It's interesting. Isn't that the one that comes in the fish bottle? Which it isn't, by the way. It's a DOCG wine, which is amongst the highest rated styles of guaranteed appellation wine. And rather than talking about it, why don't we taste it? Because we have a bottle right here. Suave wines are made from a grape called Garganega, which is the primary grape, oftentimes blended with the local Trebbiano, as well as a little bit of Chardonnay, somewhere in the range of about 10%. But Garganega is what drives it, and in general, the higher the level of Garganega, the better the quality of the wine. On the nose, which you'll always find is a very refreshing character. Garganega has an interesting quality of sort of a melaniness to it. It has a slightly floral character, and there's always an undercurrent of what I call raw nut. So whether it's raw pine nut, raw almond, raw nut in general, you get that. And I find that here. don't like to spit your wine. I have to. I do lots of these shows. Anyway, very refreshing, bright acidity. And what I like about this wine is it's got a nice amount of fruit that's going to work well against the slight heat that you described. But the fruit is also ripe enough and redolent enough that it's going to echo on those shrimp that are sweet and juicy and flavorful. And no oak, so no like weird fighting. Brilliant acidity to kind of cut through the richness and cut down the heat a little bit. A nice match.
I wish you were my som there that day.
Probably could have been helpful, although they got some pretty good
Great
bugs.
job. Yep, absolutely.
Anyway, when you're down in the LA area, definitely worth checking out Pizzeria Mozza. Try it there. And before we get out of here, always Wine Couch Word of the Week. And today's week is one that I guess sounds kind of Japanese, but it really isn't. And that would be Saba. Why don't you tell us about Saba?
So Saba, I also know it as mosto cotto, which would be basically cooked must or cooked grape juice. And so it's a lovely little reduced sauce that you can drizzle on a variety. People use it as an accent. I know it was on the menu at Mozza. So, yeah.
And I always thought Saba was something that I ordered in a Japanese restaurant.
Yeah, so
but
it's a
who would I
mackerel.
know?
Yeah.
There you go. Anyway, yeah, go with your mackerel. So on that note, I'm sure you're all going to head down. If you're not in LA already, jump on a plane, get in your car, do that. And we'll look forward to having you back again soon.
Thank you.
We'll talk about another neat little restaurant. And until then, you all take care and enjoy.
Buon appetito.